This material is about my time with VF-121. The first part is when we were at NAS Miramar. I just got my wings in March 56 and reported in April. They sent us to, everybody was on leave from the recent cruise, and they sent us to North Island for some instrument training. Then we returned and started flying the Cougars that they had used on the last cruise. They were pretty beat up, but if we could climb to maximum altitude and point it straight down, we could break the sound better, and we got in some time with those planes. Here's our quarters at Miramar. They were World War II quarters, as you can see. The crews are fixing up the ground equipment. The ground equipment is getting ready for the FJs. The Angels visited Miramar at some point during our stay there, and I took a few shots. This is a FJ with the earlier paint job. We got the brand new ones, and the Navy revised to from dark blue to light gray. You can see delivery of our first aircraft. There's our air group commander with the skipper's wife. There's the skipper's family. 101 was number carried for the skipper's aircraft. Both Bob Elder and skipper Tom Sedeker picked up our airplanes from the factory in Columbus, Ohio. Just a few shots of our new aircraft, some black, some white. As you can see, we got a lot of help in the acceptance inspection. I think I got a photograph of this aircraft before I ever flew it. 107, swap out 107, Angels 5 over Miramar, Angels 5,000 feet. Subsequent shot was over North Island. These are just some airborne shots of black and white. The FJ was a fun aircraft to fly, a lot peppier than the Cougar. Here's a shot of one of our planes in the contrail from above and from below, and even with. I'd take my camera on a flight that wasn't too demanding. Try to get pictures whenever I could. I love the cloud formations. You can see a thunderhead up ahead. I like these little cumulus. When Egypt nationalized the Suez Canal, the Israelis attacked Egypt on the Sinai Peninsula. The Navy decided that squadrons that were within 6 months of deployment should accelerate their training to include field care and landing practice as soon as possible, in case the Israelis needed help. Well, of course, it turned out they didn't need any help. But unfortunately, we had 2 bad accidents during this period. I don't think it had anything to do with the acceleration of training, but we lost a couple of our pilots, and it was a very sad period, to say the least. These are some of the airplanes and our other airplanes in our air group. This is the F-3H Demon, a night fighter squadron. This is the F-7U Cutlass. It's not going to be on our cruise. It was on the previous cruise for a short period, and we're just in the process of getting rid of them. Coming up are the attacked aircraft, AD Sky Raiders. This is a special mission Sky Raider, and these are the regular attack Sky Raiders. My buddy Bill Majors was in my pre-flight class. He was assigned to the attack squadron. This is Bob Elder, our CAG. This is Bob Elder proposing with his squadron skippers. This is an early squadron photo. This shot's going to be on the screen for quite a while because I got a great story to tell you. First, a little bit about Swede Nelson. He
graduated from Pensacola in April or May of 1942. He got his wings without qualifying in the carrier because the duty carrier was down. They needed pilots out in the fleet so bad they sent him out to San Francisco and said, "Don't worry, you'll get carrier practice out there." The carrier was down in San Francisco. They sent him out to the Pacific to his operational carrier. The day he gets aboard, they tell him he's going to fly in a big battle the next day. He says, "Well, I've never had any practice off the ship." And they said, "Don't worry, just join up on your flight leader and everything will be fine." They had a pre-dawn takeoff the next day. First thing that happens to Swede is he thinks he's on fire because he's getting these belching flames out the F4F exhaust stack, which I guess was normal, but he had never experienced it. The plane captain finally gets him calmed down. They launch him. He joins up on the first airplane he can find and discovers it's a dive bomber instead of a fighter. Radio silence. Dive bomber pilot kept trying to wave him away. He shakes his head no, he doesn't know where to go or what to do. And he stays with them. The other 3 dive bombers join up. Now there's a flight of 5, 4 dive bombers and a fighter. They have a land attack mission. Every time the leader goes through a dive, Swede flies formation with him through the dive. Anyway, they finish their mission, come back to the fleet, break up. He's downwind, flying downwind, realizes he never got his seatbelt or shoulder straps properly secured, is working on that, gets to the 180, still doesn't have them secured, reports in, flies around to the 90, and he gives up on that because he says, "My God, I got to concentrate on my first landing." Well, he made a good landing, and of course he got squashed. He went flying into the instrument panel and was badly injured. As a matter of fact, he was in sick bay for 3 months. At any rate, to add insult to injury, he landed on the wrong ship. Well, it was a tradition, I guess, to paint your airplane up if you landed on the wrong ship. And since Swede had flown this F-3D over from North Island to interview with the skipper at Miramar, when he was in having the interview, they decided to paint up his plane and have him relive that experience a little bit, I guess. End of story.
These were the helmets that we used, painted up by our squadron painter. This is a cartoon, Muxlow, I guess his name was. This is a cartoon he did with everybody. You might want to pause the TV so you can read some of the captions. This is water skiing in Mission Bay on Roger Burnell's boat. And this is a picture I had taken just for the cruise at a studio there in La Jolla. This is our squadron board, and I've broken it down into parts, the officers and the chiefs. We usually carried a roster of 20 pilots, 14 aircraft. This is a gunnery deployment we had at El Centro shortly before the cruise. Shows them loading the aircraft with the magazines and charging the guns. This is inspecting the banner after the flight. There's 4 in a gunnery flight, and each one has bullet tips painted a different color, so you can score the hits for the individual pilots just by counting the holes and what color they are. Ed Malota got a squadron gunnery record, as you can see. Quite a feat. Dick Kiner was a runner-up. The Independence Day cruise we had prior just to the cruise and sailed out for the day. This is my dad and his office at Gerber Baby Food, and this is my mom. They came aboard for the cruise. hotels along the beach. This is the banyan tree at the Moana. Some of the squadron guys got in trouble for climbing it. We had to call the military police. This is the Hawaiian village on the north side of Oahu. Sunset, a couple sunset shots. And this is the, I forget what they call this pass going over to the north side of the island. There we are out at sea on operations, on our operational evaluation period. My first hop on the operational evaluation period, my hook wouldn't come down when I was to come aboard, so they had to send me into Kaneohe. And my plane was fixed rather rapidly, and I got rejoined the ship shortly. Bill Kozel, our LSO, with our CAG LSO, landing signal officer. FJ coming aboard. Here's one waving off. A helicopter was always airborne and close by in case somebody went in the water. We also always had a destroyer off at the 180 position for the same purpose. There's Bill Nelson in front of our Chuck Wilson in front of our drinking banner. Here's a Phantom coming, a Demon coming aboard, F3H. Here's Bill Sipes in the ready room. AD coming aboard. Forsberg, the guided missile guy, head of the detachment, had 2 FJs for the guided missile mission. That was an AJ-1, that was our nuclear bomber and refueling aircraft. And I got a hop around the island. I'm trying to remember whether it was in a helicopter or some utility plane. I think it might have been a helicopter. These are some more purchase slides just to give a little flavor of Hawaii. I didn't know if I was ever going to be back. It turned out I'd probably been over there 20 to 30 times. I went over on business several years in a row where I could take my wife and stay for 5 days, and we only worked a half a day because we were put in a classified system and only had access to the site for half a day. I've since been to all the islands as a tourist and enjoyed many of these scenes. They're same scenes that are on these purchase slides. Burning of the sugar cane. Pineapple harvesting. Okay, now we're off to Guam. We went ashore at Guam for a week of gunnery practice at night, field carrier landing practice. So the photo plane took a bunch of shots of us going aboard as a group or as a squadron. There you can see the ship below. Just a few shots over the island of Guam. Another group shot going ashore. This is over the bay there. We had Quonset headquarters while in Guam, and we had a lot of good barbecues and dinners. And John Parrish, he found a tiger skin and bought it, and it was our drinking buddy, I guess you want to call it, mascot or drinking mascot. Here I am fooling around with my cousin's pith helmet, and my cousin was a recent grad from Notre Dame in chemical engineering. He was assigned there as a Navy officer to monitor the fuels. I took him up in an SNB. We flew around and he got to see airborne shots of where he's stationed. And this is a shot of the carrier and destroyer from 15,000 feet. Now we're off to Yokosuka and Tokyo. Tokyo bound. Yokosuka Bay is pretty close to Tokyo. There I am outside of a restaurant. That's Baseball Park.